At the Global Liver Institute, we believe it all starts with a patient. So what happens when a patient, a liver patient no less, one of the 500 million people living with conditions that often go undiagnosed, untreated, or misdiagnosed, mistreated, and stigmatized, brings the challenges of liver patients front and center? And what happens when a patient then leads a discussion with world experts in policy, research, clinical care, and wellness on ways to overcome these challenges? Let's find out today on GLI Live. Hello and welcome. My name is Donna Cryer. I'm the CEO of the Global Liver Institute and the host for GLI Live. Today is a very special episode in tribute to Veterans Day, which is tomorrow here in the United States, if you're watching this live. And I am very grateful for the permission of the GLI team to not take the day off, to stay on duty and think of ways that we can support military veterans and veterans' family health even more than we do. And I just want to thank our partners at the VA and the Veterans Health Administration for all of the ways that they have helped GLI programming over the course of the past few years. But today our topic is liver health and national security, two things that actually are very connected. And by the end of this episode, you will know why and how. And to help me explain that, I have the perfect guest. I have Major General Mark S. Hall, retired from the United States Air Force. Welcome, General Hall.
Thanks, Donna. It's my pleasure to be here on behalf of Mission Readiness.
Thank you. Yes, mission readiness is something that we have in common. The executive director, Ben Goodman, is on the board of directors for the Global Liver Institute. And I'm just so excited. I can barely say my own name because I've been so excited about what Ben and what mission readiness can bring to our organization, to our effort, to our mission, and what we can learn from the work that you do. So please share with our viewers a little information about mission readiness and the work that you do.
Sure thing. Well, Mission Readiness is an organization comprised of nearly 800 retired flag officers. A flag officer is a general or an admiral. And, you know, our listeners might think that the priorities of a group like that would be advanced weapon systems or whatever. In fact, we're very focused on the human part of national defense, and particularly on the health of the young people we need in order to properly staff the forces and carry out our mission. And we're very concerned because 71% of those young people are not able to meet military qualifications. And you say, well, okay, not everybody wants to be in the military, but if you can't meet military qualifications, which are pretty basic, what else are you not able to do? And the three reasons are nutrition, principally obesity, education, lack of critical skill thinking and problem solving, and a criminal record. And today we're here to talk about the part of that equation that is almost half of the 71%, and that is chronic diseases brought about by obesity.
And certainly fatty liver disease is one of those that is driven by obesity, and as well as obesity driving liver cancers even, and being one of the top needs for liver transplant. So the consequences are very dire, but often we focus on those late end stages and outcomes when we really need to be pulling back and looking at how we can prevent this and how we can work with youth to change the course, change the trajectory for a generation. And so what are the things that we can be doing better and doing in partnership, and everybody listening or viewing can play a role in helping our young people avoid obesity and fatty liver disease?
Well, when we think about chronic diseases that develop over time, we obviously think of heart disease and cancer at the top of the list. We don't as often think, but are beginning to, about the fact that obesity brings about a number of problems, including fatty liver disease and diabetes. And of the major issues that develop over time, the most controllable is the latter. In other words, the liver has been referred to as the garbage can in the body. It takes the load of everything that we put in, which is harmful to our health, and accumulates over time, leading to liver failure and other health problems. So what we can do is we can do a better job of regulating what we put into that body, and particularly we want to start at a young age, because while you think of the consequences 20 years later of somebody not being able to meet military health qualifications, the fact is that 15 years before that, they were a young person sitting in a class trying to learn and develop skills that are necessary for them to succeed in life. And their health has already started to deteriorate because of obesity induced issues, including that fatty liver disease. So very, very important for us to focus on healthy nutrition.
Over here, we refer to the liver as the major general of the body because it is so important and in charge of at least 500 different functions that are essential for the body to work well, efficiently. And so, it's all in the perspective. But we do want people to think of their liver health in the same way that they do their heart health and their brain health as really central to the overall health of the person. It's amazing that 33% of the American population thinks that you can, survive, without your liver. I think they confuse it with your kidneys, where you have two. You only have one liver,
Right.
Unfortunately, although we're working on the technology, there isn't in commonplace a dialysis for the liver, and so if it fails, that's it. That's the story. And so, to your point about education, integrating that into early education. My father was a sixth grade science teacher, a life science teacher, and so this would have been a perfect part of his curriculum with his students at that age, for them to understand the centrality of the liver, all the functions, how important it was, so that they could grow up really taking care of their liver health in all the different ways that's necessary, which includes nutrition, food, and not just what people commonly think of as alcohol, but it's really environmental toxins. It's medications that you might take, as well as food. And so putting that into early childhood and middle school and high school, and certainly college education, I think is an important thing that we share.
Education is very important, and to tighten up that analogy from earlier, the garbage comes into your body, and the liver is what has to take it out, and that puts a lot of stress on your liver. And the more imbalanced nutrition is, the more processed elements come into your body, the harder the liver has to work, and the liver gets tired. So it's very important to start young, and we do that in a number of ways with Mission Readiness, but principally through some of the many programs that you think of as school lunch or nutrition assistance that are available out there in society, where young people have an opportunity to eat a healthier menu, a menu with more fresh fruits and vegetables, less processed food, all those kinds of things reduce the fat calories, make it easy to control the weight, reduce the stress on the liver, and help keep this condition from developing as you mature into young adulthood. And I think it's really alarming that in the last decade or so, there's been an order of magnitude increase in non-alcoholic liver disease.
Right.
within people serving in the military, which says something profound about what we're taking into our bodies. And I think everybody, recognizes classically that if you consume too much alcohol, you have liver disease. That's kind of where I grew up, thinking anybody that had liver disease must be an alcoholic. But in fact, it's not just alcohol, it's many things that we ingest which lead to this condition. So it's extremely important to support young people with healthy nutrition so that they can develop properly, so they can learn and become, grow up to be fully functional, productive members of our society. And that's really the core of what Mission Readiness does.
How can we, partner more on getting this information out? We have at the Global Liver Institute now have a presence through our Liver Action Network in 42 states. And I know that our community organizations are really hungry for ways to serve their communities better, and that certainly includes young people and adolescents. And so are there ways that we can be more helpful in expanding the range of community organizations and places where this message is conveyed?
Well, I think this is a public health issue, and that leads you back to organizational solutions. It's certainly important for individuals who might be listening to this program today or acquiring knowledge about the subject we're talking about to do what they can as individuals. But a lot of individuals, that's too much of a reach. And so that's why it's so important to support through our elected representatives the various school programs, which of course were stressed terribly over the last couple of years with COVID. Some districts were able to deliver those health meals, others were not. That's the place where a standard of nutrition is delivered through the school system, federal programs and state programs, where young people learn to respect nutrition, look to eat healthy things, because there are plenty of unhealthy things that taste just great. Remember, your liver's got to deal with the consequences of that. So, I think the biggest thing is awareness and dialogue with public officials and through school districts. And, to the degree we can have this conversation individually within families, that's great too. But we suffer in this country a lot of nutrition-related disease, and it may come as a surprise to some of our listeners that liver disease is right up there near the top of the list.
It is. Often in some of the health data, it is disaggregated into the different types of liver disease or the different stages of liver disease, cirrhosis here and cancer here. But when you roll them all up and really look at the number, it's often the third cause of death, or for certain ages, for working age or military age, ages 25 to 54, chronic liver disease has a higher rate of mortality than stroke or diabetes. And, so it's really just not something that, that's a Medicare population, or it takes, an infinite number of decades to develop, that's not true. As someone who's had a transplant in her 20s, can attest, or conversations I've had with members of the military. I recount a conversation I had with a young Marine who we were involved in a brainstorming exercise about fatty liver disease and its advanced form of NASH. And he had already been diagnosed with NASH. And after the day, he was very, very frustrated, even listening to, top physicians and others in the room. He's like, wait a minute, is diet and nutrition, is lifestyle change, is that all we have? And I said, well, yes, that's the good news and the bad news. The bad news that at this point, we do not have a medication that is, approved by the FDA for an indication of NASH. But the good news, particularly for someone as young as he was, and as otherwise fit as he was, that he could take control, that he could do something about it. He had now the knowledge, and certainly being in the training, to be able to enact those lifestyle changes to be able to reverse his disease. Because as we've shown, losing 7 to 10% body weight or changing your body composition really can have that effect. And so letting those individuals and families to support individuals and communities know that there are things that they can do. It's not just wash your hand and wait for someone else or wait for the magic innovation to happen, but something that we all can be a part of. You're so right in saying that liver health is public health, and that there are all of these ways through schools and school lunch and agricultural programs and across different agencies that we can address this and really turn the tide.
Well, and that's very good news, because the fact is that the liver is a very robust organ, and the things that are assailing the liver and causing it to be diseased, again, it's the input into your body. And with proper knowledge, so you can make choices, with the discipline to make those choices, stick to them. A lot of liver challenges are very reversible as a matter of lifestyle. If you don't take those steps, the longer that the liver is diseased, the harder it is for it to recover. But for the group we're talking about primarily today, younger people and younger adults, it's a very robust organ and it's very reversible. So my recommendation to all of our listeners and people that they know is take a hard look at your nutritional habits. There's plenty of guidance out there about what amounts to good nutrition. Basically, consider more fruits and vegetables, consider less processed food, and do what you can at home and support your school districts, because that's a place where there's a common standard of feeding that has been vetted to some degree with regard to the nutritional content of the food that the students are being served. Do all those things, and we'll make a real impact in this area. Fail to do them, and I quoted the statistic earlier, over the last decade, almost an order of magnitude or tenfold increase in fatty liver disease among people who are screened in the military. That's alarming. And if that's allowed to continue, it has very profound implications, not just for the United States military, but for society as a whole.
Absolutely. And the school lunch program is so important to a broad swath of students, but particularly those who come from poor neighborhoods, poor families, who, this may be the only nutritious, full meal that they get. And you worked in so many programs working with underrepresented and underserved youth and communities. Can you tell us more about that work and those programs?
Well, first of all, very fundamentally, access to nutritious food on a timely basis is one of the things that fails in society when you get into pockets of poverty, within our communities. And the stores aren't there, the foods aren't available, and that's why in the public school system, with the support of the federal programs, why they're so important, because the foods can be available there, even if you're not able to go to a local market and get them directly yourself. So this is an issue that has a strong societal pattern to it, and that pattern definitely is tougher on lower income families where parents are working several jobs. They're all those things that are indicators of challenge are affected when it comes to the nutrition of young people. That's why the public programs are so important.
Absolutely. My father and his friends created a summer program back home in Waterbury, Connecticut, and I was, drafted into to help him put together the meals for the students who often in the summer times, wouldn't have access to those healthy school meals. And so, I've been trained since I could remember in making sure that everyone in the community had access to healthy meals and know how important that commitment is, and how often children and families fall through the cracks. And you've had programs beyond mission readiness and challenge programs, star-based programs, working with DoD. Your commitment to this issue and to ensuring this was really equitably delivered is of longstanding. I've been intrigued to learn more about those programs as well.
Well, it's been a lifelong commitment because I've recognized that in the end it's about people, and have people who are healthy. They have a good education. They're going to make better choices. That's going to reduce the involvement in the criminal side of their life, drugs and alcohol side of their life. So once again, it's extremely important in the early childhood years to get young people off to a good start. By the time you hit kindergarten, if you're not ready and ready means that you're properly nourished and you've been introduced to some of the group education that's part of your K through 12, if you will. People think about K through 12, but if you're not ready at K, you're already starting to fall behind. And the more you fall behind, the lower your self-esteem becomes. Pretty soon, you've lost contact. There's a concept in running that if you're running with a group of people and you're no more than a couple of paces away from them, you're with that group. But once you're 5 or 6 paces away, you're running with yourself, not with the group anymore. Well, that's what happens to a lot of young people, and why these programs are so important, because if you build a good base, then what follows has an opportunity for success. If you don't build a good base, it's not going to work. And the base that we build involves a lot of public programs, educationally, food supplemental programs and what have you. And it's just really important for us to make sure that our representatives understand how important these programs are, in addition to the other things that are trying to compete for their attention and a limited number of dollars. So, you don't, I'm a farmer, and you don't go out and grow a good crop without preparing the ground and the soil. And if we don't do that with our young people, if we don't address this chronic liver disease issue, which is a nutrition-related event, if we don't do that, then what we can do and achieve as a society is capital, not just people serving in the military, but across the board in society, less productive. And, it's a downward spiral that we can't afford to get into. I think a lot of our elected representatives need our urging and support to remember that along with the many other priorities they're wrestling with, it's about people. And, we need to take care of those people starting at a very young age.
I have been known to urge, so I appreciate this opportunity to be, pointed in the right direction. I think that human infrastructure on which our country functions is really important to tend to and make sure is as strong as possible, and children and families and the link between, you mentioned three pillars, and I think often people think that education and health and criminal justice or criminal backgrounds are not connected, but the ability to go to school well fed, ready to learn, so many of the disciplinary problems really are just children who are hungry, or are tired, or undernourished, or too sugared up or caffeinated, or to be able to learn well, and it affects their brain development, and they end up perceived as disciplinary problems and sort of put on that labeled as a problem child, or set up to be part of a criminal justice track, when really it's just the in environment and the nutrition and being ready and prepared and have everything that they need to learn well. So those issues really are connected in a really fundamental way. And I really appreciate the thoughtful approach that you've taken to them. And I think the same way that people think that liver health is something that is sort of siloed over, over here, and is something, those people. And the more that we do think about it as connected to the other parts of and types of health, and the more we create relationships as an organization with primary care, and I will follow this with our pediatric and rare liver disease council meeting, where we'll have pediatricians and obstetricians and family medicine folks, as well as rarefied geneticists and rare disease people, working with us on liver health. But it really is about the connectivity of all these areas to provide the optimal, as you said, the best prepared soil for growth. And that's as good as for people as it is for plants. And so I really appreciate having the opportunity to have, a discussion that with someone who appreciates and has been committed to putting all the pieces together.
Well, thank you. And I think once again, the issues you mentioned are synergetic. And if our listeners would remember one thing, I would say that everything you put in that doesn't belong there, your liver has to take out. And so you can eat a terrible diet, and as long as your liver can handle it, it'll handle it. But when it can't handle it anymore, you've got a real chronic, life-altering situation. And way too many of our younger adults and young people have had that situation already. So please think hard about what you're putting in, and eat a healthy, balanced diet with this, and avoid processed foods when you can. And that's a great start for changing a very challenging situation for our country.
I couldn't say it better myself. So I'll just say thank you, General Hall, for being with us today. And we'll include information about mission readiness in the show notes. So
thank you, Donna. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you.
Please be sure to like this video, subscribe, and share your thoughts and suggestions in the comments below. Join us weekly on Wednesdays at noon Eastern Time for more episodes of GLI Live. Check out our website, globalliver.org, and follow us on social media to learn more about the Global Liver Institute and stay up to date with the latest in liver health. Until next time, stay safe, stay well, and stay connected.